Okay, so what was one of the most important flags, red or green, that you looked for upon meeting someone?
I think that's bullshit that they said that she wasn't ready because when a woman finds a good one, then that's what you're looking for.
Wait, hold on to your seats, baddies, because Michael B. Jordan did what to Lori Harvey? Nah, he did her dirty for real this time. And the Hollywood golden boy image is officially in the gutter. Just when we all thought that the messy, toxic fallout between Lori Harvey and Michael B. Jordan had finally settled down, Lori just pulled out some absolute weapons from her arsenal and completely brutally annihilated him. I am talking about a total public humiliation that has left the entire industry shaking. She recently exposed some devastating new details about what really went down behind closed doors, and trust me, y'all are not going to believe a single word of this massive exposure. You all know how I told you that we hadn't seen or heard the last of this breakup drama. I told you to look out for the signs, but nobody wanted to listen to me. Well, turns out your girl was onto something huge because Lori is out here throwing the most calculated, high-level devastating shade at Michael B. Jordan again. And this time, she isn't holding anything back. The mask is completely off, the receipts are out, and Michael is currently running for cover. Are we looking at the biggest emotional betrayal in modern Hollywood history, or did Michael actually think he could play the ultimate player and get away with it? Let's dive straight into the absolute chaos. So, let us really strip back the layers of this glamorous Hollywood illusion and talk about how we actually got to this absolute point of no return. To truly understand the sheer magnitude of this brand new scandal that is currently tearing through the entertainment industry, we have to go back to the very beginning of when things started to rot from the inside out. Michael B. Jordan and Lori Harvey were supposed to be the ultimate IT couple of our generation, the breathtakingly beautiful duo that everyone looked at with pure envy and admiration. They did their little coordinated lovey-dovey routines all over our social media feeds, flaunting their high-fashion date nights, vacationing on private yachts, and posting these intensely curated, picture-perfect moments that made everybody gag. But right from the very jump, the real industry insiders and the true skeptics in the back were not buying the fairy tale for even a single second. Rumors were constantly swirling in the underground Hollywood circles that this entire romance was nothing more than a highly calculated, masterfully engineered public relations contract designed to boost both of their profiles. Michael needed to soften his image and present himself as a desirable, deeply committed leading man, while Lori was cementing her status as the ultimate untouchable muse of pop culture. For a while, the business arrangement worked like absolute clockwork, and they managed to fool millions of unsuspecting fans who genuinely believed they were witnessing true love. But then, out of nowhere, the fragile glass house they built completely shattered into a million pieces, and the public was hit with the sudden, shocking confirmation that the golden couple was officially over. The internet immediately erupted into absolute madness because it felt like everybody had been holding their breath, collectively waiting for the inevitable ball to drop on this relationship. The immediate narrative that was aggressively pushed out by Michael's highly paid publicity team was that he was ready to settle down, pop the big question, and commit to a lifetime of marriage, but Lori supposedly said absolutely not and walked away because she valued her freedom. This specific narrative was a genius move on their part, because it instantly caused the public to turn on Lori, brutally dragging her across every single social media platform imaginable. People were calling her heartless, labeling her a serial dater, and claiming that she did not deserve a good, wholesome, successful man like Michael B. Jordan. But while the public was busy attacking her character, a completely different, deeply sinister story was quietly brewing beneath the surface of the industry. Within days of the official breakup announcement, shocking whispers began to leak from anonymous production sets and exclusive Hollywood parties that Michael had done something incredibly shady. Reports started filtering in that he had rushed straight back into the arms of his high-profile ex-girlfriend mere hours after Lori packed up her bags and walked out of his life. The timeline was so incredibly messy and overlapping that it immediately raised massive red flags for anyone with a working brain, suggesting that he had never actually broken things off with his ex in the first place. This was the exact moment when the public perception began to wildly shift, and people started realizing that the charming, smiling Hollywood golden boy might actually be a master manipulator. The drama reached a fever pitch when Lori's notoriously protective parents, Steve and Marjorie Harvey, decided that they were absolutely done staying silent while their daughter's name was being dragged through the mud. They didn't just sit back and watch. They went out into these digital streets and started throwing some of the most lethal, calculated shade we have ever witnessed from Hollywood royalty. Steve Harvey hopped onto his public platform and dropped a cryptic message telling his followers to love themselves first, which was a clear, direct shot at how Michael had failed to value Lori. But it was Marjorie Harvey who truly turned up the heat, posting a devastatingly direct quote on her official Instagram story about removing yourself from situations that have started to rot and smell bad. If that wasn't enough to completely confirm that Michael had done something unforgivable, Lori herself broke her strict rule of never engaging in public messiness by pulling a classic post and delete. She uploaded a picture of a vintage car with a license plate that explicitly read "Dump him," and even though she deleted it within minutes, the message was sent loud and clear to the entire world. This was a massive shock to the system for celebrity commentators because Lori is widely known for maintaining an ironclad, ice-cold silence whenever her high-profile relationships come to an end. She has dated some of the most notoriously toxic, chaotic men in the entire music and sports industries, including Future and Diddy, and when those situations ended, she moved on without a single word. She took her wins and her losses in total silence, never once lowering herself to throw social media shade or validate the rumors, which tells you everything you need to know about the current situation. If she didn't even bother to publicly drag Future, a man who literally pioneered modern relationship toxicity, but she is actively destroying Michael B. Jordan, then Michael must have done something exceptionally dirty behind the scenes. The sheer level of anger and resentment coming from the Harvey family proved that this was not a simple case of two young people naturally drifting apart because of different life goals or busy schedules. This was a case of a massive, deeply hurtful betrayal that completely violated the trust of a woman who prides herself on keeping her private business entirely under wraps. The internet went into a full investigative frenzy trying to piece together the exact details of what could have driven the most private girl in Hollywood to become so aggressively vocal. Comment sections were flooded with wild theories, but one particular individual online seemed to hit the absolute nail on the head with terrifying precise accuracy. This specific insider comment suggested that Lori had unexpectedly discovered solid proof that Michael was still harboring intense, unresolved feelings for his ex, and was actively cheating on her throughout their entire relationship. The comment pointed out that Lori erased every single trace of Michael from her digital life within seconds of the breakup, a move that only happens when a woman discovers an undeniable, deeply painful truth. Michael's team had desperately tried to control the media narrative by painting him as the heartbroken victim who just wanted to build a family with a woman who wasn't ready to grow up. But the truth is always a slippery thing. And no matter how many millions of dollars a celebrity spends on crisis management publicists, the real story will always find a way to leak out. Lori was just waiting for the perfect, most strategic moment to drop the ultimate bomb and completely clear her name, while leaving Michael's reputation in absolute, irreparable ruins. That exact moment finally came during a high-profile, sit-down interview with Teyana Taylor, where Lori decided to casually, elegantly expose the dark underbelly of her past relationship. During this conversation, when asked about the absolute biggest, most non-negotiable red flags she looks out for when meeting a man, Lori delivered a line that instantly stopped the entire industry in its tracks. With a completely straight face and a beautifully calm demeanor, she stated that if a man is still way too close to his ex-girlfriends, that is an immediate catastrophic red flag. The sheer psychological shade of it all was enough to send shockwaves through pop culture, because everyone with an internet connection immediately connected the dots. She did not have to explicitly say his name or point a finger at his face because the timing of the statement and the surrounding context spoke volumes to the entire world. We all knew exactly who she was talking about, considering that Michael was her most recent, most public relationship, and the rumors of him sneaking around with his ex had already been circulating for months. It was a masterclass in public humiliation, because she managed to completely expose his secret behavior, while maintaining her absolute poise as an elegant woman. But if the fans and the stubborn skeptics were still looking for concrete, undeniable evidence to support this theory, another massive industry veteran stepped forward to completely seal Michael's fate. The iconic Lisa Ray McCoy decided to open her mouth on a popular talk show and completely expose the fact that Michael was actively trying to sneak around behind Lori's back while they were still fully together. Lisa Ray openly discussed how Michael's established relationship before Lori was so incredibly deep and intense that he simply could not let it go, no matter how hard he tried to play the role of the devoted boyfriend. She confirmed that the pressure of the highly publicized social media romance was entirely too much for him, and his heart was constantly wandering back to the woman he had left behind. What made this exposure absolutely lethal was the fact that Lisa Ray is widely known to be extremely close friends with Lori's mother, Marjorie Harvey, meaning her information wasn't just random internet gossip. She was speaking with the absolute authority of someone who had direct access to the inner circle of the Harvey family, essentially acting as their unofficial mouthpiece to deliver the final, crushing blow. This collective, coordinated exposure completely flipped the script on Michael B. Jordan, transforming him from the tragic, rejected lover into an unfaithful, emotionally unavailable partner who faked a romance for the cameras. The entire house of cards that his team had painstakingly built around his public persona completely collapsed, leaving him exposed to the harsh, unforgiving judgment of the entire internet. The revelation completely recontextualized every single weird interaction, every piece of social media shade, and every single bitter post that had come from the Harvey camp over the past several months. It became blindingly obvious that Michael had been living a double life, trying to maintain the perfect Hollywood relationship on camera, while secretly text messaging and yearning for his past life behind closed doors. The industry was absolutely reeling after Lisa Ray dropped that massive bomb, and the ripple effects were felt across every major talent agency in Los Angeles. Michael's team was in a complete, unadulterated state of panic, working overtime behind the scenes to scrub the internet of these devastating allegations, but the damage was already done. When a major industry veteran like Lisa Ray speaks with that much confidence, the entire narrative permanently shifts, and no amount of high-price crisis management can put the pieces back together. The public began looking at every single red carpet appearance and every lovey-dovey Instagram post from Michael and Lori's relationship through a completely different, highly critical lens. Suddenly, the cracks that people had ignored before became glaringly obvious to everyone who was paying close attention to the timeline. People started noticing how Michael always seemed just a little bit too detached, a little bit too performative, as if he were playing a character in a high-budget romance movie rather than living a real life. The rumors began to intensify as more anonymous sources from inside Michael's production circles started whispering to the major gossip blogs about his erratic behavior during the final months of the relationship. According to these leaked underground reports, Michael was frequently distracted on set, constantly glued to his phone, and stepped away into private trailers for hours at a time to make hushed phone calls. The crew members allegedly noticed that his entire energy would shift after these secret conversations, leaving him visibly stressed, anxious, and emotionally distant from everything around him. It didn't take long for the insiders to piece together that these secretive, late-night communications were not business-related at all, but were actually directed toward his past life. The secret world he was trying so desperately to keep hidden was slowly but surely bleeding into his professional life, making it impossible to maintain the flawless facade. Lori, being the incredibly sharp, intuitive woman that she is, apparently started picking up on these subtle shifts in his behavior long before the actual blowout happened. She began to notice the guarded phone screens, the sudden changes in his schedule, and the heavy, unspoken tension that seemed to fill the room whenever his past relationships were casually brought up. Sources claim that Lori initially tried to give him the benefit of the doubt, believing that a man of his stature and reputation would never jeopardize what they were building together. But as the weeks dragged on, the emotional distance between them grew into a massive, unbridgeable chasm that no amount of lavish, expensive gifts or coordinated public date nights could fix. The turning point allegedly came when Lori accidentally discovered definitive, undeniable digital proof that completely shattered her trust and exposed the double life he was leading. Leaked reports suggest that she stumbled upon a series of highly emotional, deeply nostalgic text messages between Michael and his prominent ex-girlfriend that dated back several months. These were not just casual, friendly check-ins or polite holiday greetings. These were deeply intimate, vulnerable conversations where Michael was openly expressing regret about how things had ended between them. The messages supposedly revealed that Michael was using his highly publicized romance with Lori as a distraction to cope with the lingering, unresolved feelings he still harbored for his previous partner. He was essentially using the most desirable woman in pop culture as a high-profile placeholder, while his heart and soul remained firmly anchored in his past. The sheer humiliation of realizing she was being used as a glamorous prop for a man's unresolved emotional baggage sent Lori into a state of absolute, icy fury. She did not scream, she did not cause a massive dramatic scene in public, and she certainly did not give him a chance to explain away the unexplainable. Instead, she quietly and methodically packed up her things, erased his entire existence from her digital platforms within a matter of minutes, and walked out of his life without looking back. This sudden, unceremonious departure is exactly why Michael's publicity team had to scramble so aggressively to invent the narrative about him wanting a marriage proposal. They knew that if the real story about his emotional infidelity and his obsession with his ex leaked out first, it would completely destroy his marketability as Hollywood's premier romantic lead. They needed to flip the script immediately to save his multimillion-dollar brand. So they painted Lori as the flighty, unready young woman who simply panicked when faced with real adult commitment. For a brief moment, their desperate PR strategy actually worked, and Lori became the ultimate villain in the eyes of mainstream entertainment media. She was subjected to a barrage of vile commentary, with people accusing her of being incapable of maintaining a real relationship and claiming she would eventually regret letting a good man go. But the truth is a force that cannot be contained by public relations executives, and the Harvey family was not about to let their daughter take the fall for a man's secret betrayal. Steve and Marjorie Harvey knew the exact details of what Michael had done, and their subsequent social media behavior was a direct reaction to the hypocrisy of his media campaign. Every single cryptic quote about toxicity, every single post about walking away from things that are rotten, was a deliberate, calculated strike against Michael's carefully constructed victim persona. They wanted the world to know that their daughter didn't leave because she was afraid of commitment. She left because she refused to settle for a man who was playing double games. The public reaction shifted dramatically as these pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place, and the internet quickly transformed into a hostile environment for the Creed star. The very same fans who had been singing his praises and dragging Lori through the mud suddenly turned on him with a viciousness that left his team completely paralyzed. People started flooding his comment sections with heavy criticism, calling him out for his hypocrisy and demanding that he address the specific allegations regarding his ex-girlfriend. The phrase red flag began to trend alongside his name globally, completely overshadowing his recent professional achievements and movie announcements. The narrative of the wholesome, perfect gentleman was officially dead, replaced by the reality of a flawed, emotionally compromised individual who had deeply hurt a woman who trusted him. Pop culture commentators began to analyze the situation as a textbook example of how the industry protects its golden boys while readily sacrificing the reputations of successful women. The double standards were laid completely bare for the world to see, and Lori's refusal to speak on the matter only added to her growing mystique and public support. She became a symbol of ultimate empowerment for young women everywhere, showing that no matter how famous, successful, or universally loved a man is, you never compromise your boundaries. Meanwhile, the anonymous sources continued to feed the fire, revealing that Michael was making desperate, late-night attempts to contact Lori to apologize and beg for a private reconciliation. He reportedly realized the catastrophic mistake he had made, and was terrified of the long-term impact this exposure would have on his legacy and his standing in the industry. But Lori completely blocked his numbers, cut off all mutual contacts who tried to mediate on his behalf, and made it abundantly clear that he was permanently exiled from her life. She was completely done with the illusion, done with the games, and ready to let the public naturally discover the truth on their own terms. The interview with Teyana Taylor was the final, devastating nail in the coffin, a beautifully executed strategic move that allowed Lori to deliver her message without ever getting her hands dirty. By defining the proximity of an ex as her ultimate relationship red flag, she provided the entire world with the exact missing piece of information they had been searching for. It was a masterclass in strategic communication, showing that you don't need to engage in loud, messy internet feuds to completely dismantle someone's reputation and clear your own name. The sheer brilliance of the move left Michael's team with absolutely no options for a counterattack, because responding to it would require them to admit that the shoe actually fit. They were forced to sit in agonizing silence while the entire internet celebrated Lori's standard of living and mocked Michael for losing the best thing that had ever happened to him. The hunter had officially become the hunted, and the golden boy of Hollywood was left standing in the ruins of his own making, completely exposed to the elements. As the public backlash continued to grow, industry insiders began to wonder if this scandal would have deeper financial and professional consequences for Michael's upcoming projects. In modern Hollywood, an actor's personal brand is directly tied to their box office draw, and a massive shift in public perception can easily jeopardize major studio deals and lucrative endorsements. The brands that had previously lined up to partner with him because of his clean, romantic image were suddenly hesitant, watching the unfolding drama with extreme caution and anxiety. No corporate entity wants to be associated with a narrative centered around emotional manipulation and betrayal, especially when the target of that betrayal is as immensely popular as Lori Harvey. The financial stakes were incredibly high, and the internal pressure within Michael's camp was reaching a breaking point, as they realized they were completely losing control of the situation. Every single attempt they made to shift the focus back to his career was completely drowned out by the thunderous, non-stop conversation regarding his personal failures. The financial anxiety inside Michael's camp quickly turned into an absolute reality as several major lifestyle brands quietly paused their upcoming marketing campaigns featuring the star. The corporate world does not care about Hollywood royalty status. They care about consumer sentiment, and right now the consumer sentiment surrounding Michael was completely toxic. Every single time a major media outlet posted an article about his upcoming film projects, the comment sections were completely hijacked by thousands of angry fans demanding to know why he treated Lori so poorly. The internet had collectively decided that he was no longer the dream leading man, but rather a textbook example of a partner who strings a woman along while living in the past. This continuous public backlash created a massive snowball effect that quickly reached the ears of high-level studio executives who were funding his next multi-million-dollar directorial projects. In modern Hollywood, a director's public reputation is just as critical as the actor's, because a boycott from a highly vocal fanbase can easily sink a film's opening weekend numbers. Internal leaks from major production houses suggested that board members were holding tense, private meetings to discuss whether Michael's personal drama would negatively impact their massive financial investments. They were reportedly putting heavy pressure on his management team to issue a formal statement, but his publicists knew that speaking out would only validate the scandal even further. While Michael's team was trapped in a state of absolute paralysis, Lori was out here living her absolute best life, completely unbothered and thriving in the bright spotlight of her newfound freedom. She was continuously spotted at exclusive international fashion weeks, sitting front row alongside global icons, looking absolutely radiant, stunning, and completely detached from the ongoing chaos. Her strategic silence was doing more damage than 1,000 angry tweets ever could, because it showed the world that she did not need Michael B. Jordan to maintain her cultural relevance. She was proving that she was the prize all along, and her brand value skyrocketed as women everywhere applauded her for walking away from an emotionally compromised situation. The narrative surrounding her had completely transformed from a serial dater into a masterclass on how to set ironclad boundaries and enforce high standards in a world full of compromise. Major beauty and fashion conglomerates were lining up at her door with massive multi-million-dollar endorsement offers, eager to align themselves with her image of ultimate empowerment and independence. Every single public move she made was a silent, devastating victory over Michael, who was left looking increasingly isolated, stressed, and culturally defeated in the eyes of the mainstream public. Even his close industry friends were reportedly starting to distance themselves from him publicly, terrified that the heavy backlash surrounding his name would bleed into their own personal brands. The underground gossip channels began reporting that Michael was experiencing a massive personal and professional crisis, completely overwhelmed by the speed at which his flawless reputation had been dismantled. He had spent over a decade carefully cultivating the ultimate good guy persona, and to see it completely erased by a single relationship red flag was a bitter pill to swallow. The absolute worst part of the fallout for Michael was the reality that his secret attempts to run back to his ex-girlfriend had completely backfired in the most humiliating way possible. Reports surfaced from close acquaintances of the ex-girlfriend stating that she had absolutely no interest in becoming his second-choice placeholder or dealing with the massive public mess he created. She had reportedly moved on with her own life and viewed his sudden desperate return as a selfish move to soothe his own bruised ego, rather than a genuine expression of real lasting love. This meant that Michael had effectively destroyed his perfect relationship with Lori, ruined his global public image, and ended up completely alone in the cold process. The poetic justice of the entire situation was not lost on the internet, which celebrated his absolute downfall with an endless stream of viral memes, TikTok breakdowns, and highly critical commentary videos. The public commentary space became a safe haven for discussing the deeper cultural issues regarding how men in power often take high-value women for granted. Every single piece of the puzzle had now been laid bare for the world to see, and the final verdict from the public court of opinion was completely unanimous and devastatingly clear. Michael B. Jordan had played a very dangerous game with a woman who belonged to one of the most powerful, protective families in the entire entertainment industry, and he lost absolutely everything. The Harvey family had successfully shifted the entire narrative, completely clearing Lori's pristine name while leaving Michael's career and personal life hanging by a very thin, incredibly fragile thread. This entire scandal serves as a monumental warning to any public figure who thinks they can use a highly publicized romance as a mere marketing tool while disrespecting their partner behind closed doors. The truth will always find a way to breach the highest walls of celebrity protection, and when it does, the destruction is always total, absolute, and completely permanent. As the dust finally begins to settle on this historic Hollywood fallout, one thing remains completely undeniable to every single person watching the drama unfold. Lori Harvey did not just survive the messy breakdown of her relationship with Hollywood's golden boy. She completely redefined the rules of celebrity breakups and emerged more powerful than ever before. Michael B. Jordan, on the other hand, is left sitting alone in the heavy silence of his massive exposure, wondering exactly how a single red flag managed to completely destroy his entire world. And that, my gorgeous baddies, is how you completely, elegantly, and absolutely dismantle a Hollywood golden boy without ever breaking a sweat or losing your posture. Lori Harvey completely rewrote the entire celebrity breakup rulebook, and honestly, we all need to take extensive, detailed notes on how she handled this whole mess. But you already know I want to hear back from my absolute favorites in the back, because your opinions mean everything to me when the tea is this hot. Do you think Michael B. Jordan can ever truly bounce back from this massive public humiliation? Or is his perfect gentleman image permanently ruined? And what do you think about Lori's ultimate red flag? Is staying close to an ex-girlfriend an immediate deal-breaker for you in a real relationship? Drop all your thoughts, your wildest theories, and your unfiltered opinions in the comment section below, because you know we love to tussle down there. If you want to stay completely ahead of the game and never miss a single drop of this massive, unfolding Hollywood drama, make sure you smash that like button right now. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and turn on that notification bell so you are always the very first to know when the real truth finally drops. Thank you so much for watching, take care of yourselves, and I will see you all in the very next video for more chaotic tea.